Welcome everybody, and it's nice to be meeting. It's nice to be meeting at ETE. And we don't have any apologies, and we've also got a couple of guests here, which is wonderful, with Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor Patterson. And so we'll go straight to, well, as I say, there is no leave of absence. Everyone's here. Confirmation of minutes 3.1. If anyone would like to do that, thank you, Councillor Tozer. Seconded Councillor Martin. Thank you. That's the meeting going back to early February. Wow. All right. We will take the vote on the confirmation of the minutes. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. And item 5.1 is starred. It's the forward planning schedule. We're happy for someone to move that as a start item. Thank you, Councillor Fowler, and seconded Councillor Taylor. Take the vote on that. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. We have one presentation in open session, and it's a presentation on the community events that we deliver, and we deliver a considerable number. And it's really good to have Steve here. Nice to see you again, Steve. Steve Brook. Everyone knows Steve, even though we've not seen him for a while. And so Steve's going to give us an overview about all the wonderful community events we deliver throughout the city. So over to you, Steve.
Community events team do. So thanks very much for having me. I thought, sort of from the top, what I'd like to do is just give you a little insight into the different streams that exist within the business unit itself, so you can understand the types of ways you could or your community engage with us. So the first stream, which is probably the one that you're very aware of, is we have a team that plan and deliver events in the community. And the types of outcomes that they're seeking, we're trying to activate community spaces. So whether it be Nerang Street End Mall, it may be the Hotter Outdoor Amphitheatre or the Surfers Paradise Foreshore. The objective of this team is to, how do we make sure these key precincts are activated? So it's about providing content for our residents. An example there is the team strives to make sure, for example, for New Year's Eve, that there's content within their local neighbourhood. So whether it be the significant New Year's Eve that exists in Coolangatta, Broadbeach, Surfers Paradise or Coomera, making sure that our community has access to content, quality content within the city. And we also attempt to strengthen these social bonds. And what's an example there? So down in Coolangatta last year, there was a hearing impaired group that got in contact with us and kind of said, hey, we'd like to get together at this event. What can you do for us? So the team got together and we threw around ideas, and it was about providing a space specifically for that hearing impaired group to come and engage and engage socially at that event. There was an Auslan interpreter that was provided, and it just really allowed this bond to occur with a specific segment of the community alongside of everybody else that was there. The team is also striving for this civic pride, and for those councillors who have been to something like a sea fire, I know for myself, when I stand on that foreshore and I look out over the beautiful ocean, I see these fireworks. Councillor Taylor, you'd very well much be aware of this. I know I personally have a level of pride in, look at this wonderful city, look at the achievements that we've got, and by way of this event, we can really celebrate that civic pride. I certainly have a level of pride when I attend something like that. The other stream of the business is an event management team that facilitates events within our city's major venues. So what venues are we talking about? We're talking about the Gold Coast Aquatic Centre, your Gold Coast Sport and Leisure Centre at Carrara, your Coomera Indoor. It's those large centres that we've got where event owners come to us and say, hey, we want to do business with you. So we have a team who facilitate content into that. By way of our venues, we're showcasing the city and these venues on a national stage. An example there is where the city hosted and delivered a very successful NBL Blitz. That was something attracted the city via both the city and experienced Gold Coast and facilitated into the venue by the team. And there's also an element of driving economic benefits, and we know we are not at the helm of that. That's something that experienced Gold Coast do very well. But by facilitating these events into these venues, we can proudly stand up and say, hey, our major venues are contributing almost to $250 million towards the city's economy. The third stream that exists in the community events area, so we've got a team that have 3,000 bookable spaces across a suite of 4 asset classes. So if you're seeking a booking at a pool, a community centre, a sporting venue, or a park, you would come to the team and they would facilitate a booking at that space. And that's both an internal and external item. And there's also a large body of work that occurs there where we're ensuring our sporting clubs and the community via the Rider Use Program can get access to those venues. The other element on the side there is we, council, own the Surfers Paradise Beachfront Market, which is a wonderful product up on the foreshore of Surfers Paradise. The team administer the City Lights program, so that's where we've got this central program where we acknowledge and light up different assets within the city to celebrate particular items. I'm hoping last night was maroon in those various locations. We also provide a level of guidance to different business units and councillors' offices if you are seeking to deliver an event. So that's something where we've extended ourselves out to your offices and saying, if you have an event concept that you want to deliver, we'd love to sit down with you, help develop that scope so it can be landed correctly. So that's a little snapshot of the team. I do have a video here, and this is Councillor Patterson. You would know this one all too well. This was Lunar New Year earlier this year, and I'm putting this up just to give you a look at what the look and feel of the types of events we're delivering are. And this is a 50-second video. So, Councillor Patterson, you would recall that one, and somehow the rain on the night, and I'm sure you would recall, it was raining. That event somehow was edited out of that video to make it look as though it was fine. So that's a little insight into what the team planned and delivered. There was 12,000 people down in our CBD. The next item here is just to give an insight into the different categories that the team actually plan and deliver. So there's a suite of events that we would sort of classify as that family focus. So when marketing those, we're specifically targeting Gold Coast families. So whether it be Monster Machinery Day down in Southport, Kids Weekend in Surfers Paradise, or Lunar New Year, we sit down and we ensure that we speak directly to the Gold Coast community, specifically families, ensure that they attend. They're the key focus, core market of that event. The team deliver large-scale events, so we know this Saturday night Seafire is being delivered historically on Surfers Paradise Beach, and we're attempting to disperse crowds this year, and we're standing up 4 sites across the city, which really showcases that we are open for business despite there being some limitations on space available on the beach. We're well and truly open for business at those 4 locations. We deliver a significant number of events in the back end of the year down in December. So there's Christmases and New Year's Eves that occur all over the coast. So the flagship event within that is the Mayor's Carols. And as a number of you know, we stand up Christmas events and New Year's Eve events in the south, down in Coolangatta, in Broadbeach, Surfers Paradise, Coomera, and then there's also an element of an allocation within our budget to events in the west down in Nerang. Music is a heavy skew within the portfolio events. So whether it be that we're working with winners of the Eisteddfod, but the objective there is how do we support the local music industry and get core Gold Coasters and Gold Coast acts on the stage for these things. So whether it be the Sundown Music Festival, CB Twilight Markets, if we've got a stage, let's see if we can raise the profile of these Gold Coast musicians. We also deliver civic events. So citizenship ceremonies are held 5 times a year. We hold those over at Hodder. And when I actually looked at the number of new citizens that we put through, I might even put it out as a question, how many do you think the city, so City of Gold Coast, process on an annual basis over here at Hodder across 4 ceremonies? How many new citizens? So we as a city would welcome? 5,000, so fantastic guests. Yeah. Yeah. And all councils are invited to attend those. The team plan and deliver the Gold Coast Australian of the Year Awards, and council were fantastic in their wisdom back in 2021, where they took the angle of how do we replicate what happens on a state and national level. And we all recall Marco Renai in 2024, who went on as the Gold Coast Australian of the Year to win the state and then attend the ceremony down in Canberra. And what a wonderful opportunity to raise the profile of Gold Coasters. The team deliver any keys to the city here. So we've delivered, council have acknowledged 21 recipients of keys to the city. Most recently, it was Regina King in 2024, started all the way back in 1966. So the team plan and deliver those, and any civic receptions hosted by the city. So we recall last year the World Life Saving Championships from the city, where we hosted 200 international delegates as part of that function. How do we sort of measure success? So we say attendance is a big one. We want to make sure the most amount of Gold Coast residents can attend our events. Last year there were 225, and we strive to see that number grow. And when we plan those events, we try to work out, well, how can we increase that number? Is it more days, more time, more hours, more scope? Satisfaction's a big one. That's where we ask attendees, how satisfied were you? Wonderful to see that it's that high and very high responses that we're getting. Risk audits. So this is an assurance matter. So this is where something like a sea fire occurs this weekend. The team has a very detailed risk register. So the insurance is that we have a team that goes out and audits those risk registers. You said you were going to cover that cable. Did we actually do it out in the field? And then accessibility is one that we're quite proud of. So whether it be Auslan interpreters, relevant parking that occurs close to an event, beach matting, or even here's an interesting one at the team trial that was putting out on our digital channels saying, hey, community, do you have accessibility needs? Tell us, and we'd love to work with you to get an outcome. So that's something that we're going to continue to explore. The second team that I talked about was facilitating events at our major venues. So that's where someone like a Swimming Australia, Basketball Australia, Volleyball Australia, or otherwise come and knock on the door and say, you have a wonderful facility, I'd love to use it. So we know Swimming Australia will be back on our shores back in the city next year at the Gold Coast Aquatic Centre. So it's about making sure that they're aware of, and we take care of their every need at that venue. It's a single stop shop that takes them from that inquiry all the way through the quoting process. What additional overlay do you need, and ensure that the event is delivered in a high level of quality. Outdoor, that includes the various elements outside of the venue at the Gold Coast Sports Precinct, and also Pimp My Sports Hub. The Pickleball National Championships are occurring there later this year, and what a wonderful way to showcase the breadth of that venue, in that they're going to be using netball courts, the tennis courts, the community centre. That entire venue will stand up as one. Highlights for next year. What's interesting when you look at this, our venues have really become a little home for combat sports. Not a little home, they're a significant home for combat sports, quite an interesting one. So we're facilitating quite a few of those into the venue. When you look on there and you see a national event and you see the Australian Basketball Champs or the Volleyball Australia Champs, they are significant events. And if you have the chance to get out there, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of kids and families who attend these things. Councillor Castro, you would no doubt have attended these, and
the place is just rocking. It's yeah.
And there's a significant number of both state and national events. The kind of outcomes that the team is seeking: how do we grow the number of event days in our major venues? And we know there's very careful balance between community use and events coming into the venue. About just under $3 million in revenue was obtained in the last financial year by way of events coming into our venues. And whilst we're not at the helm of this is something that the experienced Gold Coast do very well, that your major venues facilitated $250 million worth of economic impact into our city. So yeah, what a truly wonderful indicator. Satisfaction, so that's where we don't go to the attendee, we go to the client and say, hey, Swimming Australia, were you happy with the journey that we took you on in this venue? And also we make sure our risk is very much a tidy house. So the final slide there is just looking at our events calendar for next year. So some of the standouts that you would know and love that you would see in this. So Kidchella over a weekend in Surfers Paradise, significant Christmas content down in December all over the city. So that was where our residents have access to significant Christmas content, regardless of where they are in the city. Lunar New Year, that is one that the city has backed over a number of years, and that event will continue to grow. And then the flagship in all of that is Seafire this Saturday night. Very much look forward to working with you and your teams around the events that you have and the service that we can offer around coming out and developing those scopes and working at how we can ensure any divisional events plug in alongside of the dates that exist here. Through you, Mr. Chairman, on the 22nd of June.
Councillor Toes.
So I've had some feedback from, and this is not uncommon, like my major brother being at RSL's an Anzac Day, and the query that they ask is that every year when they submit their application to host, because we have a road closure like lots of Anzac Days, is there any plans to potentially standardise the response to RSLs, who are traditionally a bunch of frankly old men, mostly grumpy old men, has been my experience, very committed veterans whom I'm very appreciative of, but also not always the most administratively capable. And I wonder if there's any plans to standardise the traffic management plan for Anzac Day so there can be a better response or a more streamlined response.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the responsibility for facilitating events on council controlled land now exists within planning and reg in the city standards team.
Not you guys anymore.
No. And so while I absolutely would say I'm aware of an item that was passed recently through council where it was looking at developing a standardised set of traffic management plans, noise management plans, I understand that was looked favourably at council.
That's not your area.
However, it is via city standards.
Sorry, I'll take that up with Alicia. Ainsley Buffett, is it? Cool.
Okay, councillors, any other questions there for Steve?
Love your events, mate.
Councillor Josh.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Steve. I'm just thinking, obviously, there's a level where you deliver events like Christmas carols, but for key locations and other events on behalf of the whole of city, but just obviously just interested in your thoughts as we grow. Some are delivered divisionally, and how you see that, like, what's the process, I guess, for the city to deliver as a whole of city, or what's the threshold when it becomes from a division to a whole of city, and how, as we grow, might you see other events maybe delivered whole of city?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, council have taken a very proactive approach in the past around identifying key entertainment precincts. So that may be Southport, Surfers Paradise Foreshore, Broadbeach, significant sites now in both Coomera and Coolangatta, and they've been identified in the past as sites that have large space that can accommodate audiences, have transport networks that can approach those. But I am very much aware that the approach that council has taken in the past is identification of key entertainment precincts and ensuring that we have sufficient and quality content in those precincts. Should council choose to realign that approach, we'd certainly come on that journey.
Follow-up question?
Do you think of those entertainment precincts that you mentioned, do you think, say, Burleigh Heads might be a future candidate, given connections of transport and population size and obviously activity in that area? Is that something that I could engage with you on to just sort of, perhaps as we grow, look at that area?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I am aware of the size and breadth of the events calendar in Burleigh. I know there's a significant amount of content that gets delivered there by third parties, but I think it's prudent of you to raise that matter. I'd be happy to participate in a conversation more broadly around, have we identified our key entertainment precincts correctly, and are we putting, is from a whole of city level, are we putting the right kind of content in the right places?
He's very good, Steve, isn't he? He's got all the answers. He's good. He's good. Steve, looks like you've been busy, mate. You've been, you've got a very, very busy department there, and you do a fantastic job. You really do. And it's good to actually look at the number of events and the diversity of events that we're delivering through the city. It's important to have this because now we've got EGC obviously taking over with those bigger events, just to show what the city is still doing, and it's quite significant. So I was about to say thanks, Steve, but I've got Councillor Taylor and I've got Councillor Gates.
I was happy to move it, but also just thanks. Oh, you can move it and I'll second it, either or.
Who's going to move? Who's going to second? I'll let you two fight it out. Okay.
Either or.
Okay. All right. Councillor Taylor.
No, I just want to thank Steve and the team. Obviously, we've got experienced Gold Coast that do the larger events, and as a city, we're not just about the larger events. There's a lot of smaller events, the city community events that we need to deliver as local councillors, which the support that you've given, I know our office, the ability to help get an event like Seafire back up and running, and also delivering these type of events, particularly for Surfers Paradise, during the transition to, at the time, major events. But your team has been, in my perspective, really supportive in relation to all events from since I've been here right through to the city events we've got here. You've been very engaging with the community, particularly in my area, to ensure that we get the right events for the appropriate areas. And the team has always been really supportive and done a great job. And I think it does support the city as being a event city. And it's important that we always do remember it's not just about the larger events, it's the medium and smaller tier events that our community need support as well. So thank you.
Well said. Councillor Gates. Is there anything to add,
wishing
Councillor
to
Gates?
speak against, I know this. So I have a slightly different perspective, because I think that the Seafire event is probably the largest event that I've experienced in the city, where I have approached the centre of the city from every different direction and been unable to get in to Surfers Paradise because of the volume of people coming to watch that event. And I do recall, as Councillor Taylor suggested, when it was scrapped and you've brought it back. This year will be interesting with the 4 new sites, but I simply wanted to commend you and your branch, because you do an amazing job. And the example you gave of the Gold Coast Australian of the Year, I think Alex deserves a real pat on the back for, I think she's leaving, isn't she? But anyway, she did a huge body of work on that enabled us to really lift, I guess, the recognition factor of the Gold Coast people that we nominate and who proceed through that whole process. And it's been really fantastic over recent years to see the calibre of person that we can honour, and that it's great. And the fact that it feeds into the other programs and provides them the level of recognition that they deserve. So they're really big things for our city, and I want to acknowledge your ongoing involvement. Someone told me too you'd been seconded somewhere else recently, and I went into a state of frenzy until I found out that you're back.
Thank you.
So congratulations to you, Steve.
I think you definitely speak for all of us there, Councillor Gates. So, thanks so much, Steve. We've got a mover. We've got a seconder. Mover and seconder have spoken. Anyone else wish to speak? If not, I will take the votes. All those in favour? And that is carried. That's wonderful. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Jody. Jody's off. All right, Paul's going to come into the chair now. We've got two more items. Both of these items are closed session items for the reasons on the screen. So we do need to have a move into close, because this is something which speaks or could potentially impact on local government budget and negotiations relating to commercial matters involving local government, for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. So thanks very much, Councillor Gates, and seconded Councillor Martin, to move into close. All those in favour? That is carried. So the streaming is now back on. And okay, so we've discussed 2 items on Experience Gold Coast with their financial year operational plan, which was, well, actually that was 7.2. 7.1 was the Q3 performance report. So Councillor Tozer has moved 7.1 to receive and note the report, seconded by Councillor Gates. Councillor Tozer, I mean, you're pretty limited in what you can say, really. It was just receiving the report, wasn't it?
Duly noted.
There we go. Anyone wish to speak? No, in which case we'll take the vote on 7.1. All those in favour? That is carried. We'll move to 7.2. That's Councillor Tozer again, who's moved that, and seconded by Councillor Fowler. Councillor Tozer.
Also duly noted.
Councillor
With
Fowler.
slight adjustments that came out of Councillor Patterson's important interrogation during special budget.
Yeah. That's a good outcome, though. Councillor Fowler is happy too, in which case we would take the vote. All those in favour? That is carried. There isn't any general business that I'm aware of, no. So in which case, councillors, we will declare the meeting closed at 14:08. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul.